Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
All right, it's Dr. Homebrew time, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dr. Homebrew, the only, and I will put my life on this, not really, the only show where you get to ask questions of completely handsome and totally qualified BJCP master judges. Did I get that right?
Master.
I'm reading the notes that you guys wrote for me, so I just want to make sure that...
As long as you're not putting our pictures on the website anywhere.
Oh, no. We would never do that. Only after the second season.
If we could just convince the BJCP to give us extra, Grandmaster points towards, working towards the Grandmaster with doing each show we do.
Yeah,
I will,
and maybe a little plastic surgery.
That would be great. Yeah. Well, then you can afford it after all, I mean, look at me. I've had tons of plastic surgery. I'm 89 years old. Oh.
I would have said 87.
Well, that's why you get top billing, because you're nicer to me.
He's very perceptive, too.
He's very perceptive. He is very perceptive. This is Dr. Homebrew, where I sit and basically just take notes while we have Brian Cooper and Lee Shepard here, as mentioned, 2 BJCP master judges. Basically talk beer, and then I try to go, I got that too. Yeah, I got that note too. But why don't you go ahead and you finish up your comments, and then I'll decide if I got that too or not. And of course, I always do. I mean, our palates are always aligned properly. Anyway, so that's what we do. You send in us your own beer. You send in your beer to us, and then you get on the phone with us. Or if you're local, you come in to the studio and look at our handsome faces and try not to swoon. And we discuss your beer. What you did, what you want to get out of the show, where we talk about your beer. If you think, I'm getting 35 consistently on these competitions, and I need to get better. I need to win something at NHC, or I have this little off flavor. I don't exactly know what it is. I think we're the guys to help you out with that, and by we, I mean Brian and Lee. We are collectively Dr. Homebrew. We form like Voltron to get your beer on. What do you think about our new catchphrase I just made up?
Nice.
It's pretty good, huh?
We give everything a 35, though, by the way. I mean, we don't ever score higher than 35.
Or lower than 32.
Right.
It's a 3-point scale.
It's a very safe place to be.
That's why I like you guys so much, because it's just like, 32. And like, oh, and the homebrewers going, oh, that's awesome. I've never gotten above a 24. I don't know. Well, I'm doing well. Anyway, we have a couple good beers lined up. Apparently, it's Belgian night. Because not only do we have a Belgian Pale, isn't that what that is? Westy 6 clone from our good handsome friend Peter Munoz.
How you doing?
Hi. We have a Westy 6 clone, and then we have a Belgian Triple from Patrick. I don't know how we loaded up these Belgian beers tonight, but I'm pretty excited about it. I don't think we get a lot of really good Belgian beers anymore, ever since this stupid West Coast hop bullshit came over, all the IPAs. Everything's IPAs now. Nobody wants to, learn how to do subtle malt flavors anymore.
Well, even the Belgian beers are IPAs now.
Isn't that terrible?
They're starting to do the Belgian IPAs. Yeah, they've been doing that for a while. It's kind of interesting because it's the same beer recipe will have such a different flavor, That Belgian yeast character just knocks the hops on their butt sometimes.
This show, every show we do, Dr. Homebrew, from now moving forward, is brought to you by our new friends at 5 Star Chemicals. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn all about the best ways, in fact, in my opinion, the only ways, to clean and sanitize your home brewing equipment. They, of course, do PBW, powdered brewery wash, that I use every single time because I'm a lazy slob and I leave things dirty and disgusting until, after you brew. At least I don't know about you guys, but after I brew, I'm tired. It's like 6 hours, 7 hours, and I'm probably drunk and sweaty, and I don't want to be outside anymore, and I don't have a butler, so I have to. I leave everything. I just rinse it and leave everything, and then the next time I brew, I use PBW. I let it soak, recirculate it. It does the work for me, and that's what I like. It's like those scrubbing bubbles, but less pretentious. If a cartoon can have pretension. Anyway, and then there's Star San to sanitize everything, and then there's 5.2 to adjust your mash, and they also have best cleaners to clean everything. They have a lot of different stuff. So check out 5starchemicals.com and then report to your local homebrew shop and pick up and buy them out of stock of all their PBW, because you can't say enough good things about 5-Star.
Well, they don't make a shampoo or a body wash to take care of that funky smell you were talking about after your last brew session. They could start doing that.
5-Star body wash.
I think a little PBW would do that.
Maybe.
Start mixing.
Powdered body wash.
Oh.
I don't know if I'd use it that way, Lee.
Oh, man.
Might be a little harsh.
I would think you would. Yes.
Yeah, maybe you should. Maybe one time when we have a slow brew day, or a slow guest day where no one decides to come in, we just judge each other's smells about how much. I don't know. I'm already been drinking. Here we go. We're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk to our friend Peter Munoz about his Westie 6 clone. It's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Stay tuned.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Now back to Dr. Homebrew.
Gotta go hit that tea time. Dr. Homebrew, we are back, and with us, as promised, Peter Munoz with his West Vleteren 6 clone. Am I saying that right?
You are
Vleteren?
West Vleteren, I believe so.
Right.
Close enough for me.
There's no monks listening to this show. I'm sure they'll
not.
be fine.
Nathan might.
I wish Nathan would call in. I really think that it's...
West Vleteren.
How long have you been brewing, Peter? It seems like you've been brewing forever.
Actually, I think I've been brewing for about 9 years or so. 8-9 years. I've been judging for almost the same amount of time. Mm-hmm. I kind of just got flung into it by accident by a broken bottle.
Really?
Yeah. State competition.
Like someone knifed you with it?
Kevin Pratt called me and said that my bottles were dropped, and it was my second competition I entered.
Yeah.
And it was in Sacramento. He asked me to come. I said I'd go drop them off. Next thing you know, I'm judging. And
just like
stopped.
that?
Yeah, just like that.
They just handed you a pencil and said, here you go.
Yeah, here you go. Don't talk.
That's cool, man. Trial by fire.
And I started with the extract and jumped right into all grain.
Mm-hmm.
Loved it. And then just found an affinity for all different styles of beers and decided to keep trying them.
Now, you're pretty focused on one style, right? When you get the hang of, or you try to pin one down.
I want to get them right. Yeah.
Because you were doing a Gose.
My Gose, yeah. I've been doing that for a few years now.
That's the demon in Ghostbusters, right?
It is.
Gose?
It is actually, it was at right after a judging class I did with Brian, he happened to find a bottle. I got a small taste of it, and next thing you know, I'm searching it out, learning everything I can and how to brew it.
And that's what you're doing.
And that's what I do on a continuous basis.
And then once you pinned that style down, did you ever brew it ever again?
I do.
Oh, really?
Change it up a little bit. I'm actually going a little bit more historical with it, with different mashing techniques, different lautering techniques.
When's your book come out?
Someday.
I'm going to write the forward for it.
All right.
I've been trying to write forwards for books for 5 years.
Yeah. It'll be a small book.
Hey, that's fine. Pamphlets are fine. I think pamphlets make a comeback soon. All right, well, let's dive into this beer. I think it's really good, and this is one I'm looking forward to hearing the feedback on, because I've been trying to brew the same thing. Now, Westy 6 is a
Belgian table beer.
So it's lighter than a blonde.
It's lighter than blonde. It would be entered in the specialty category, the category 23. I brew it to about 5.5%, and I also, what got me started on this was my favorite is the 8. Mm-hmm. The 12 is great, but
what's the 8?
The 8 is their double.
Okay.
And to me, the 12 it's a great beer, but it can be too much to drink at one time. But the 8 I can continuously go back to, and when I really wanted to brew that one, I figured I'd probably do the 6 just to build up yeast, and all of a sudden I found it to be just a really exciting beer that I can drink even more of, and that's what I started with this one. And on my search for finding a recipe, I came across one through the candysyrup.com website.
Okay.
And I looked through that one. That I thought it was fairly close. And then cross-referencing that with Brew Like a Monk, it gives you kind of sort of guidelines on how to do it. And I omitted the table sugar or the candy syrup that they recommend. Mm-hmm. Because it's such a low gravity beer, I didn't think a sugar was needed. And in this beer, I used the Belgian Pale malt and Belgian Pilsner malt, Northern Brewer for bittering, Styrian Goldings in the middle, and Hallertau at the end.
Okay.
So it's hopped fairly aggressive for such a small beer. I also used the Trappist High Gravity, which is the 3787, 530.
Okay.
And
that is the surprising thing about this beer. Having had it fresh, it is very hoppy. Yes. You wouldn't think a Belgian table beer, anything Belgian in general, would be very hoppy, but it is. Lee, you were saying during the break that it's almost like IPA hopped, or maybe I heard that wrong.
Junior IPA hop, yeah. It's a very hoppy beer. I mean,
junior
it's
IPA, okay.
A pale ale hop.
Okay,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, it's very hop forward beer.
Yeah. What do you think about Peter's beer? Let's start with you.
I don't know. There's not much left to say after all that. It's pretty good. I like it. It's very drinkable.
Yeah.
It tastes like basically kind of Pils malt and some hops and a lot of Belgian yeast character in this one. The balance is good. I'd say compared to what I remember, the balance is fairly similar, but it's in kind of a different direction. The Westy 6 that I remember from having had this, and this is kind of going to turn into a discussion of our memories on this beer, I think, which is kind of weird. That beer is basically kind of Pils malt flavor and a lot of hop aroma and some flavor and bitter just to balance. I mean, it's a nice bittering balance. A little bit bitter for it, but not that much. Very refreshing beer. This one has a similar balance, but really kind of what's in the lead and the aroma and the flavor instead of the hops is this very peppery phenol, which is kind of nice. Actually, it works very well, but it's not the same as the Westy 6. It's the Westy 6, that's all hop.
Yeah, it isn't the same.
So you've got a ton of phenols in this beer, and it works very well, but it's not quite, nailing the clone sort of aspect of it. But
that's what I
could drink an awful lot of this beer.
So
very nice.
6 bottles of it.
Yeah, where's the original for us? Brian, what about you, man?
I really like this beer too. It's got a nice in the aroma, pleasant kind of apple pear, lighter fruit esters. Pretty strong, but smooth, and that kind of persistent peppery quality just pokes up in there. Very very yeast focused beer. The malt is clean and light, Pils like, and kind of smooth and bready. Combined with the yeast component there, almost cake like, kind of a cool thing. The hops are really low and just kind of supporting in there. That didn't get a lot of hop in the aroma or the flavor for that matter. But it's a it's a cool looking beer too. The head was very moose like, just super persistent. It's been sitting here for many minutes and it's still there. It's just very kind of a moose like head, just sticks around forever, kind of white, and the beer is a yellowy. It was kind of a little hazier when I first started, but I don't know. It seems it's fairly clear. It's got a little bit of haze to it, but not too hazy. And the flavor just clean and fruity. This nice light peppery phenolic, balanced with the malt, and but yeah, the balance overall is to the yeast character. It's that peppery thing, and that the esters that it's kicking out. The hops and the flavor might be a little lower than we were hoping for, but it's still on its own is a very, very pleasant beer. Pretty firm carbonation in this, very highly carbonated, pushing out a lot of those aromas and the flavors. Even somewhat creamy and smooth. Just really pleasant beer overall.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like it too. I really enjoyed. Tasting it, I've been trying to brew this, like I said, this beer also, and my beer. We were talking in the break, Peter, about the pop that the Westie 6 has, and mine doesn't have it, and yours I think doesn't have it either.
Yeah, and that's one of those things I've been trying to get out of it is that pop, and
that's kind of what you want out of the show, also. Hopefully.
Yeah, and actually, well, for me, I've had a lot of people try it, and everybody tells me they like it, and it's a good beer. But one of the better compliments was. Actually, it was from Justin last year, and he says, "Well, you're in the ballpark," and it is like
that's a compliment.
Well, I didn't.
The most general.
It is. It's a general compliment saying, "Well, I'm either the pitcher or I'm selling hot dogs outside." It doesn't tell me anything, and that's basically what I get out of it. And a lot of people, again, really like it.
Yeah.
But I only know a handful of people that have actually had the beer. And I've had it twice in I don't know how many years. And you get that little, half-ounce pour, and you're trying to get everything you can out of that little pour. And so for me, it's really hard to go back to that memory and get that.
It is very hard. For me, I get a lot of the yeast ester, but I don't remember in the beer itself.
Yeah, you're right.
It's very peppery, and the only note that I wrote, of course, Brian and Lee, being consummate professionals, wrote sheets. I wrote too sharp on a pad of paper because I don't know why. You know what I mean? It kind of has a too sharp of a quality, that yeast pepperiness. For me, from what I remember that beer being velvet and smooth, sweet malt with this parachute of hops over it, if you will.
Yeah, that's basically what I thought.
Yeah, and this to me is very spicy, Belgian spicy. I use, I think, the Trappist ale yeast that I ferment at like 72. 74.
And this one I started at about 65, and it was there for a few days, and then I ramped it up to 70, 75. And it stayed there until it finished out. And it dropped. It started where it should have. It dropped where it should have. And I thought possibly that it could have been a little too spicy. But initially when I had it, it did have that hop flavor, but it just faded right away. And again, the older bottles that I've had still had that parachute of hops.
Yeah. It's a good word, huh?
It is.
It's pretty nice.
Very good. I'm going to use that.
In your book? In your Goza book?
No, that's not a hoppy beer.
Well, whatever.
A parachute of salt.
I think you should. What do you guys think about that?
It's a paratrooper of a beer.
Yeah. I mean, am I wrong about the spiciness? Is it not to style? Is it?
Well, to style is hard to say, but to the original beer, I mean, if you took that phenol spice out and replace it with hops, you'd pretty much be there. I kind of remember the Westie 6. It's almost like a Pilsner that just really has a lot more hop aroma and flavor to it.
So do you think I should ferment a little lower?
ferment a little lower, pitch a little higher, something to try and make this yeast a little less hyperactive. Yeah,
play with that yeast. Yeah,
try and get the yeast to basically shut up a bit. And just ferment
now, what about bringing
cleaner.
up the other thing I was thinking is possibly doing a single decoction with this to boost the maltiness?
That might help with the smoothness a little bit.
And maybe dry hop it.
I mean, it was
dry hopping might be a good way to get the hop character up there a lot. Yeah, that might be worth considering. Single decoction,
it's a maybe.
Maybe I don't know. That's pretty secondary at this point. I mean,
Okay.
it wouldn't hurt. It might not help that much.
But I will be brewing this again, and I want to get another
I hope so.
batch ready for NCHF.
Yeah.
might push you out of the ballpark, across the freeway into the shopping mall or something.
Right, but
The arcade.
Yeah, more late hops, more dry hops, something along those lines. You might have to experiment a bit because the monks aren't going to tell you.
Yeah. That's
But
big
something
thing.
to bring that hop character, especially the aroma out.
Cool. Okay.
I mean, think about it. Think about it like you would a slightly throttled back IPA in terms of the hops. I mean, that's full on American West Coast IPA would be too much. But try and get some way of getting that hop aroma in there more. And there's a lot of techniques that are used out here now that would certainly do that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's what they're doing back there, who knows?
Yeah.
But you could probably get closer to that hop profile doing a lot, some sort of big late hop or dry hop on this.
Okay.
And I disagree with JP. I don't think the pepperiness is coming across in a harsh way. It's or biting really in any way. It's smooth and it's balanced with the beer. It's the real thing might be a little creamier and something overall just making it a little smoother, and that pepperiness might be more subdued. But what's there is pleasant and it's a cool beer. I really like it.
Making a note, Brian is fired.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't mean for it to be it's offensive, but I think for that beer, I feel it was a little bit
little too much.
Yeah, a little bit. It is good. I mean, we're all saying the same thing. It's a fantastic beer, and it's already something But okay, so basically, you guys are saying hops.
Just add more
hops.
Kind
More
of
hops,
switch out
less
the hops.
phenols.
Everything else is fine. Recipe wise, he's good.
Yeah.
Even fermentation, he's probably fine, right?
Maybe just some late boil hops. I don't know if I'd go crazy and dry hop it. Just kind of work with the balance of the hops in there. And I think the bittering hop that's there is fine. Just add a little more late hops, and you're getting close.
Cool.
Play with that yeast.
Peter, you got any questions for the guys?
No, I think they pretty much covered it. That's about it.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks for bringing the beer in, man.
Thank you.
It was very good. Next up is Patrick with his Belgian Triple. So we're going to have to take a break, play some songs, and taste this. It's Dr. Homebrew. See you guys in a bit.
Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
Hey guys, it's Push. June 26th, Wednesday, is the Brewing Network 8th anniversary party. And I'm supposed to try to get you guys to show up and buy some tickets. And basically, if you don't come, you're kind of an idiot. If you're going to be at NHC, get yourself a ticket, because this is sponsored by Northern Brewer and Midwest Homebrewing Supplies, and it's going to be huge. Justin may be a freaking moron, but he knows how to throw a party. So show up. It's the 8th annual Brewing Network anniversary party. I can't believe we've been doing this for 8 years. But listen, it would mean a lot to me if you go get yourself a couple tickets, show up, and I'd love to meet you, shake your hand. We'll have a couple beers together and have a good time. It's going to be a blast. You never know what could happen. Last time I ended up with a freaking hop grenade tattooed to one of my legs. So get your tickets today. Go to the brewingnetworkphilly.eventbrite.com and hook yourself up. And I'll see you there in Philly. Cheers, brothers and sisters. Was that awkward? Anyway, it'll be a lot of fun. See you there.
Now, back to the examination.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Dr. Homebrew. I hope that sound effect came through properly. It was supposed to be the snap of a glove, but it kind of sounds like a zipper. It says the examination is about to do something, and it
Should have more of a pop.
should have more of a pop.
I didn't hear either, but it might just be psychological.
I want it to sound like a zipper. All right, we have been discussing Patrick's beer, which is a Belgian Triple. Patrick, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you guys?
Pretty good, man.
Good.
Pretty good. Trying to see straight right now. Maybe I've had too much homebrew. I don't know.
But is it good?
I like it.
Damn it.
It's a good show. Hey, everyone, bring me a beer.
Yeah. It's working out.
I need to get the follow-up, give JP a ride home show. I don't expect it'll be as popular, but...
You need to make a plug for getting beers in, too.
Yeah. See, God, you guys are so smart. That's how you do a successful show. You surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. And then you get it out. Anyway, Patrick, how long have you been brewing?
So I started seriously maybe 2.5 years ago or so.
Okay.
Ever since I've been doing 1 or 2 batches a month.
Wow, really?
But this is the first Belgian strong ale I've done. So
Okay.
it was a bit of an experiment. I brewed it with my friend Skylar. And
Do me a favor, get right on that mic, please. Sorry.
So so we decided to do this because we were interested in brewing a beer that we can condition because we brew quite often, but we also go through it pretty fast. But we had built up enough of a stock that we could start making stock ales. So
Yeah.
we decided to go for a Belgian Triple.
How many gallons do you do at a time?
We split a 10-gallon process 2 ways, and then we each take a keg home or bottle half.
That's the way to do it. You have roommates?
I don't have roommates.
No? So you have 5 gallons twice a month to yourself?
I try and get rid of it as much as possible
Yeah.
because I cannot deal with that much beer.
No, it's really hard, man. I have a 10-gallon system, and I have the same problem. You have instant friends, though, if you have that much beer on hand. So why a Belgian Triple?
Well, we'd done some other beers recently, and we were building up Belgian yeast, so we had it on hand. I'd done a rye pale ale that we'd split 2 ways, one American ale and one with 530. And then from there, we thought it would be interesting to try both of them. He had a pitch of Unibrow that he'd been building up, so we compared the 2 yeast. Mine wasn't ready for the Oakland competition, the homebrew competition recently, so I thought it would be a good chance to bring it here to get some comments on this beer.
Okay. And that's what you want to get out, just straight comments or just general how to improve?
I would love to know how to improve because
Okay.
I don't generally brew high alcohol beers.
Yeah.
And so I was actually quite surprised when thinking about this beer. People talk about a triple. It's a big boozy beer. It's high alcohol. There's a lot of characteristics to it, but there's very few ingredients. So the complexity is actually comes from managing your processes and managing your control of the various variables you have. So actually, I think it was a lot more difficult to brew this beer than I had actually initially expected it to be.
Really?
Yeah.
What was your major hurdle that you didn't expect?
I had ideas based on lower alcohol beers I brewed with 530, the yeast I've been using, and this beer is completely different than the other ones I've done.
Brian?
And now for something completely different.
What do you think about Patrick's beer here?
I like the beer. Well, I blame JP for this, but it came out a little cold, and at first the aromas were kind of subdued. But as it warms up here in the glass, I'm getting a little more the kind of light fruit esters, a little kind of grapey, appley, just pleasant, smooth fruity esters in there. The kind of a base malty, kind of generic malt in there, kind of nondescript a little bit, but not super pilsy. I got a little hint of kind of a cooked corn kind of DMS thing in there. The hops are very background. It's kind of a lightly spicy thing, but pretty nice aroma. The appearance, it's got a little bit of haze, kind of a good golden color with a low head that dropped fairly quickly. Some kind of finer white bubbles and some slightly larger bubbles around the top here, but it dropped pretty quickly. But it wasn't quite as fluffy as I might have wanted, but that's okay. Smooth maltiness, fruitiness, kind of in balance with each other in the flavor. I'm getting a little more just kind of a generic base malt character than like a Pils. I'd be interested to find out what malts were used in there, and if it was pure Belgian Pils, then I'll just shut up. But and it finishes a little bit sweet. The alcohol flavor is very smooth. There's just low alcohol flavor in there, and just I think Lee was one who described it. These beers to me are kind of good alcohol delivery mechanisms. Just but it's smooth and it's dangerous because it's a higher alcohol beer and it just goes down nice and clean. So, and this does that, when you're drinking the flavor, and the mouthfeel is pretty smooth too. It's slightly creamy, not really stringent or anything like that. The carbonation was a little bit low, I thought, but really good beer overall.
Lee, do you agree with those?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Peter?
Yeah.
Great.
Peter, moving along. Yeah, no. Yeah, the triple, as a friend of mine once said, Tyler, he said, a good triple is a malt-based alcohol delivery vehicle. It will drink as easily as a Pilsner, and if you're not paying attention, you won't notice how strong it is.
Yeah.
MBADV.
Yeah. It's not something you want to put on tap at a party unless you want some mayhem.
Or a new
It's got a
girlfriend.
little bit of phenols. That's a long story.
It looked like I just kind of sparked something deep in your memory.
Oh, right. Yeah, that drunk. A good triple, I mean, it's got, it's a big beer. It's got some phenols and some fruit. Esters, supposedly it should balance a little bit more towards the phenols, and this, I think, kind of does in the nose, maybe doesn't in the flavor. It's kind of nitpicking. It did present a little bit cold, so it was sort of towards the end of tasting this that things started really coming out for me. But it's pretty clean. The alcohol's good. It's not real high. Maybe there's a whisper of some heat in there. I don't know. I think maybe Peter was picking up a little bit more of that. That's because we poured him less beer, so it warmed up faster.
That's all he gets.
Right.
The end.
It was a clean ferment. There's nothing bad going on in here. No diacetyl, no DMS that I'm picking up. I mean, we had the question about that, but are you getting
If
any?
anything, just a hint. Yeah, just a hint.
I'm not really. I don't really.
Then
think
that
there's
kind
any
of can
there,
blow off after a while too. Just the alcohol's there to it gets covered up. But yeah, I think there's a touch of it there. But with Pils malt, you do get that a lot.
Yeah, and the malt flavor is very nice. It's kind of a plain crackery Pils malt kind of flavor. It was good. A little bit of a honey character to it, which you get out of that, and works well in a beer like this. It was nice and creamy. Maybe it wasn't as carbonated as some of these could be, but it's not bad. And you were saying this was not maybe bottle conditioning was something you were kind of new to, or
Actually,
for big beers.
So conditioning big beers is certainly something I've done a few times, but not often. This beer has been a month in the bottle, so maybe for a high alcohol beer, it's not fully conditioned at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a bit low.
Right, not too much.
No.
It can be used a little more, but not that much. It certainly
it
poured
might
a
get
nice
there.
big head.
Yeah.
It looked very nice, actually.
It might perk up even more in a couple of months. Hold on to these bottles.
Right, and a slight bit of haze, but maybe that's because it's bottle conditioned. It was frothed up a bit, and it also got driven several miles to get here.
It was sitting outside in the kegerator, too. So
Yeah,
unfortunately-
that will too. Does it pour nice and clear at home?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
You guys have such problems with so much beer here.
I know. It's a pain in the butt.
Our lives are
We'll
difficult.
forgive the transport haze. It's all good.
Yeah, in general, I thought it was good. There's no major flaws in here. There's next to no minor flaws. It could maybe use a little more phenol balance versus the esters, maybe a little bit more carbonation, which is a big thing in this kind of beer. But give it another few weeks, maybe it'll get there if it's still bottle conditioning. That's kind of my take on it. It's a pretty good beer. It's a good job. Peter?
I'm curious what Pilsner malt did you use?
So I used German Pilsner in this one.
Okay, yeah, which is a little cleaner. It's
a little less sweet.
It's a little less sweet than the Belgian Pilsner. And listening to other people who brew a lot of Belgian beers, I'm just now able to notice the difference. It's taken me a while. So that might be something you can look at to get a little bit more of that rounder, sweeter flavor. A lot of people will use the German Pilsner with a little bit of Munich or some Vienna to kind of round it out and kind of emulate that.
So this had a little bit of Munich.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go over your recipe, actually, because
maybe
we
not
want to dial it in here.
So the recipe was 84% Pilsner 2-row from Germany, and then there was 6% 10 Lovabond Munich malt. There was 9% sugar, simple sugar. So it was corn sugar. It was cane sugar. We threw in at the beginning of the boil to get it inverted, And then there was 2 ounces of acid malt because we were doing such a light beer. We thought we might try and lower the mash pH a little bit.
Okay. What hops?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. And so there was a charge at 60 minutes to get 30 IBUs with Ultra, and then at finishing we had 2 ounces of Glacier and 1 ounce of Cascade to give it a nice little hot
Oh, wow.
present.
Yeah. Never would have thought to use Cascade.
People say Belgians like mutts of beers, and I've read for a long time that they use it. So it was a fun little experiment.
All right.
Now, what about fermentation temperature?
So I fermented this one. I started at 64 for 2 days, and then I ramped it up to 67 for 3 days.
Yeah, and that's where you get that clean alcohol.
Yep. And then I held it at 70 for 6 days after 67, and then cold crash for 2 weeks before bottling.
And what yeast did you use in here?
So this was 530. So this was the same as the earlier Westy 6.
Cool. Yeah, it's a workhorse.
Oh yeah, it's a great yeast.
Well, I agree with everyone. I love everybody. So what can you do here, guys, to kind of, get this up here a little bit?
Well, carbonate it a little more. And one thing that can help with that, and if you read some of the writings on some of the old Michael Jackson books on Belgian beer, if you want to carbonate something like this, once you got it in the bottle with the yeast, put it somewhere warm. I used to stick it in my bathroom when I was living in a place where I got a lot of sun on that side of the house, and I'd close the door, and I'd come home from work, it'd be up at 80 degrees in there or more. And when I did that with beers like that, they really carbonated up properly. So a little more heat while your bottle conditioning might help. You're not going to get a whole lot of hot ferment kind of problems doing that, just because it's a small amount of yeast. It might help it really finish out. That
and let it sit for a little longer to get a little bit more aged character to it. The alcohol was nice and clean. And that first pour, when it was cold, it was, to me, it had a little like isopropanol type alcohol to it, but now that it's warm, it's perfectly fine.
So maybe it has a little of that. Maybe I thought the esters were a little high, so maybe a slightly lower starting ferment temperature or a higher pitch rate. It's hard to say. I mean, it's kind of splitting hairs at this point.
Yeah.
But if you're getting a couple people thinking there may be that stuff there, maybe it actually is, but at threshold. So maybe a little change in that direction would help.
You get kind of a green apple, meaty kind of thing. Meat.
Green apple and meat?
Yeah. Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
Like a pig,
eat some cheese and nice little
pig with an apple in its mouth?
Yeah.
I do get that green apple, but that could just be a part of the yeast profile, possibly. And I don't know if you could have let it sit on the yeast a little bit longer. But then if you're getting the meaty, that would from old yeast.
Yeah.
Depending.
So that's possible. This was from a third generation pitch.
Okay, third generation. So you're probably pitching some dead yeast cells.
Yep, probably.
It's possible.
It happens.
It's also somewhat possible that this bottle was laying on its side in the cooler downstairs. We're just getting a mouthful of yeast here. And
we'll never know,
though. It doesn't taste like it's an acetaldehyde sort of problem to me.
No.
Just there's a little bit of yeast in suspension here.
Okay.
That's my opinion on it.
Okay.
Yeah, a little yeast-like flavor in there, but it's not detracting too badly at all here.
All right, good. Patrick, do you have any questions for the guys?
Yeah, I had some questions. How would you tune the water profile for this? Because it is a very light beer. There's not too much going on, so it seems like the water tuning might be more critical.
Maybe you're living in the East Bay,
Yes.
Oakland somewhere. Yeah. Edmund water is fairly our local Edmund water is fairly low in mineral.
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't bend over backwards to monkey with it for a beer like this. It's probably pretty okay. It's not like the water in all the different places in Belgium where they make these kinds of beers is all the same. And it's not like we know what they're doing to monkey with it there. Generally, pale beers like lower mineral water, definitely not carbonate. I would say probably what comes out of the tap in our area with a little treatment for chloramines is probably pretty good. I wouldn't worry too much. Just make sure you maybe got enough calcium to keep the yeast healthy. Which
Your water's pretty
50
soft
50 parts
over
per
there.
million or something. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got pretty soft water out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty light beer. I don't know that I'd go start blending it with RO or distilled water or anything to try to soften it up anymore. It's not tasting really minerally to me at all.
That would mess with the body, or what would that do if you started?
Well, it would start fighting with the hops and some of the other elements in there for just a smooth malt-based beer, and it could make the bittering hop a little harsher if you had more minerals in there. Go too crazy with that.
Yeah, especially carbonate. There'd be no point to put in carbonate. That would just take it in the wrong direction. A little calcium chloride might sweeten it up a bit. A little calcium sulfide will push your hops up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much of any of that's necessary for this.
Okay.
What about the sugars? How many? It was a 5-gallon batch.
It was a 10-gallon batch
10 gallon.
and 3 pounds.
3 pounds.
Yeah.
I think you'd go a little higher on the sugars myself. Would dry it out just a little bit more. It's presenting itself, pretty sweetly, and it's on the dark side, so it's a very malty kind of sweet beer. And I think having just a little bit more of that lightness and dryness in there. What did it finish out to?
So it finished out at 10:08.
10:08. Yeah, that's
1073.
Very low.
You're right there. Yeah,
That's right there. Yeah.
it's very smooth. It's a
Now, where did it start at?
It was 1073 is where it started at.
Okay, so yeah, you're right there.
very smooth for such a big beer. Yeah.
I think it's great. That's wow. 10:08.
10:08.
That's amazing.
There's a lot of sugar. I mean, maybe not that much, but there's enough.
A little more sugar wouldn't hurt. 1073 start?
1073 start.
Is that before or after the sugar?
That is after the sugar.
Okay. Could probably maybe be a little bit higher than that, but
You can
I think
experiment,
1080 is a classical sort of start for that. But
Try different
It's probably
sugars
good.
too.
Right.
See what you like more. I was looking at a Gordon Strong recipe here. He uses 4 pounds of beet sugar. That sounds pretty cool. But yeah, we did a triple tasting in that NHC one year, and there was like the same triple recipe brewed with 6 different sugars, and it was amazing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
By the same guy, or just
Yeah.
yeah?
yeah, well, and the beet's the general sugar source for the brewers in Belgium too. So it's rumored to make a difference.
So that was something we had discussed when we were formulating the recipe, was that when should we add the sugar and what sugar should we use? Because we ended up going with sucrose, but we threw it in early so that we could make sure it converted to glucose or fructose. What would you recommend using? Like, would you want one of these higher sugars, or would you want to shoot for these lower sugars, like an invert candy or something?
If you want to do it like the Belgians are doing, you're probably using the candy sugar, which is, I think it's a sucrose base, the beet sugar.
Yes, it is the beet sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you're really going to invert your normal table sugar here or the dextrose corn sugar in a boil. I think you need a lower pH environment for that sort of thing to happen.
If you want to invert it, look for the recipe
but
for that.
The yeast should ferment it just fine, but you're talking probably about subtleties of the ferment flavors that come out of it to be the difference.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can shell out some cash and buy some of the pricey, colorless or almost colorless blonde Belgian sugars and probably get exactly what you're looking for. I do remember at one of the sort of mid-state county fairs I went to several years ago seeing bags of CNH beet sugar, but I've never seen it out here in a store, so I don't know what you'd have to do to get it. If you can find that might be a good thing to go for. If you want to get the sugar profile exactly right, that would be the thing to do. I know, Brian, how much taste difference did you get from all those different sugars in those triples at the NHC?
It was pretty substantial. It was interesting. Each one was a different brew too, so there could have been some batch to batch variation. But it was. Some of them just presented themselves with a little more strong kind of not molasses, but like different expressions of the sugar in the beer, and it was interesting. Just playing off the malt flavors and everything else that's there. It was pretty cool. But yeah, quite different. I don't remember all the details of it by now.
Right.
NHC.
Yeah.
But
And another thing you can do, if you go back and read some of the old Jackson books on the Belgian beers, the sugar additions usually aren't always early in the boil.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're late. Sometimes they'll add it in after, when the beer's getting into secondary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like can I remember
Actually, it
this
says
right?
the krausening is rising, or just as it's starting to fall.
Sometimes it's like that. I think I remember for Duvel they added a couple different times. They'll add it at sort of at the end, maybe a little bit up front at krausening, but I think mostly it's sort of at the end, and then they'll add it again at bottling. And they're bottling down probably 4 atmospheres, so it's actually not a tiny amount of sugar, even though it's not a huge amount. So do a couple different additions late, and that may well change your ferment profile. You're going for a lower gravity, lower alcohol beer without a lot of simple, easily digestible sugars up front. you might get a little bit better action of the yeast, digesting all the maltose, not sort of spoiling it on the real simple sugars up front. So it'll behave a little differently, and then you give it that simple stuff at the end when it's sort of been working real hard, and it'll eat it up pretty easily. You might get a drier beer that way, and probably a different sort of ester profile.
Yeah, if you keep feeding it a little bit during the fermentation like that, you can also not have to ramp it up as high of a temperature and keep the alcohol even smoother than it already is. And also, I would again just suggest looking for the Belgian Pale malt.
Okay.
But,
actually, more beer was out when I went to go buy the sack. Otherwise, I would have got it.
Those rats.
Yeah.
Not
Aren't
literally
they a sponsor?
rats,
No.
well,
shows.
They are of the session. Who cares about that? This is the number one show as the Martinez train rolls through town. All right, well, very good. Patrick, thanks very much, man, for coming all the way out here from wherever you're
Thanks,
from.
guys. Appreciate it.
And we're going to take a break, and then we come back. We'll do a quick wrap up, and we'll go over Peter's Westy 6 recipe, and I think we'll get out of here. It's Dr. Homebrew. Stay tuned.
Where do you go for all the stuff you need to brew? Homebrewstuff.com, of course. In their Boise, Idaho storefront and warehouse, they have more than 750 craft beers and 8,000 square feet of homebrew products in stock. The staff at Homebrew Stuff are homebrewers themselves. They try out just about everything, including the beer, so they can answer your questions knowledgeably and correctly about brewing, kegging, and anything else you might need to ask. Don't live near the Homebrew Stuff store? Visit homebrewstuff.com online and take advantage of their $7.95 domestic shipping available on most orders. Homebrewstuff.com is a proud sponsor of the AHA, NHC, GABF, and countless other acronyms. So if you're a homebrewer looking for great people, a great selection, and great deals, head to homebrewstuff.com, online or in person. Visit their YouTube channel for loads of free how-to and product videos. All of the stuff you need to brew. homebrewstuff.com.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. Oh, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
Now back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, it's Dr. Homebrew, everybody. Thanks for sticking around. We're going to do a brief recap of Peter's beer, which is a Westy 6 clone, and then Patrick's beer with his Belgian Triple. What did we tell Peter to do? I remember something about the hops, right?
Add more.
More hops,
more.
less phenols.
That's good advice, I think.
Just add more.
Just add more and then less of the things that we don't want.
Yeah.
Right.
It really helped me.
I do have your recipe here in front of you. Or in front of me, rather.
It's in front of both of you.
If it's in front of you, where is it for me? Who am I? Your original gravity was... that's your Westy 8. What are you doing to me? Westy 6. Here we go. Get this out of my face. I'm going to confuse an already fragile mind. Boil size, 13.86 gallons. 11 gallons into the fermenter. Boil time, 90 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. Brewhouse efficiency, 81%. Look at you.
Yeah.
Nice work.
I go slow.
Mine's like 70 on a good day.
I know, and I'm trying to drop it.
You trying to drop it?
I want to get it back down to 70, 75.
Come brew on my system. You'll be you'll be dropping in no time, man. Here we go. 8 pounds of Belgian 2-row pale malt, 12 pounds of Belgian Pilsner, 38.991 grams of Northern Brewer for 60-minute boil.
You really get that third decimal point?
I do. I have a crackhead scale. Triple beam.
That's the only way to go.
That's right, man.
It reads what you want it to.
That's right.
42.535 grams of Styrian Goldings, boiled for 15 minutes. 50.245 grams of Hallertau, boiled for 5 minutes.
See, and I thought I was up there.
It's a 10-gallon batch?
10 gallon, yeah.
Let's see. Wolflock tablet, 2.02 teaspoons of yeast nutrient. 2.02 teaspoons?
Yeah, I went 2.
One was slightly rounded.
Yeah.
Are you
That's
sure?
the problem.
Yeah, I guess.
And then the 1.8 packages of Trappist High Gravity, which is what's the White Labs number on that? You know that,
White
right?
Labs is 530.
530.
Y Yeast is the God, I can't think of it now.
3787.
3787.
All right.
The real question is, what did he do with the other 0.2 of the package?
That's what I don't know.
Got to drink it.
Like the deer's blood?
That's right, man.
And he did a bunch of water additions, which I'm not going to go through because it's a lot. It depends on your...
Basically,
Yeah,
it's
whatever,
the
but-
Antwerp water profile from Beersmith.
Okay.
That's what I went with this
Why
time. It was just a rounded guess.
Okay, it's a different city from where the beer
It
is
is, yeah. But and because if you look at the Brew Like a Monk book, it gives the West Fletiron water profile. But then if you read into the paragraphs, they talk about how they keep their water treatment secret. So it really doesnn't mean anything at all.
They could just be stealing Antwerp water,
And they could be, and
or
that,
they could be keeping it secret because they don't
Never
do
know.
anything.
but if I don't have East Bay mud water. We have Central Valley water, which is irrigation runoff.
Right.
So I'm just shooting from the hip on that one.
You'll be fine.
Bring a couple
Yeah.
carboys out next time you visit.
Well,
you can fill up on our water.
Like I said, you've had my first one.
Let's see. Original gravity 1054, final gravity 1009. 32.6 IBUs. I think my IBUs are like 35. So I think
You're pretty close.
yeah. There you go. Nothing else I need to read, right?
Yeah, it's pretty simple stuff.
All right. There you go.
Yeah, I'd say a couple more thousandths of an ounce of hops.
That's where I think you went
And
off.
a little
too, yeah.
phenols a bit.
Thousandths of a gram.
Thousands.
Man.
God, how could it be so off?
Oh, my crackhead skill was good. It goes to tenths
Yeah.
of a gram.
30 fold off there. 28.8 fold off.
Brew it again and come back,
I will.
please.
Brew more and bring it to me.
Yeah.
I can do that too.
You can be brewing for us. And then Patrick's Belgian Triple. What did we tell him?
I don't know. I can't remember that.
The
part.
carbonation was a
sugar.
little
a
low.
little more carbonation.
Yeah, a
yes.
little more carbonation. Maybe change the sugar a little bit
Yeah,
and
play
get
with
some of
sugar.
those classic Belgian candy sugar
Try turbinado.
flavors. I really like the Belgian candy syrups.
They make great
I
syrup.
really enjoy those. I think the flavor that comes through is
Syrups
pretty
are
good.
great, yeah.
As you're having the 8, and that's pretty much the only sugar that's in it, and it's great. It gives you exactly the flavor you want. You don't have to mess with trying to make it. I don't know. It's consistent.
And it's easy for me because
It's easy.
I'm stupid.
Yeah, pre-measured.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. So, was that basically it? I mean, I think everybody else's ferments were, or not
The
everybody
ferment
else's, but
was pretty clean. There was some question whether there's a whisper of some heat or some little esters too high, so maybe a little cooler. We're not a big deal.
the chat loved that, by the way.
And,
The whisper.
The whisper?
Yeah, whisper of
Whispering heat,
Yeah.
whispering isopropyl, whatever, yeah. And
soda.
get the carbonation up a bit.
Yep.
Yeah. But otherwise, the base beer is pretty damn good.
Great.
Good triple.
Yeah, I'll give it a try with Belgian Pils, too. That seems like another interesting...
That probably
option.
get a more traditional Belgian actual flavor.
Just keep that bottle conditioning going. You're doing it the traditional way. I mean, bring it back to us in 2 months and we'll do the show over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
By
we'll
the
do-
way, he did bring this in full on like champagne bottles with a big old dimple in the
That's
bottom.
awesome,
This
yeah.
is perfect.
I'll have Lee update you guys in a couple months.
Cool.
Well, you need to come back on the show and update us, man. Don't hear it third hand. Mm-hmm. All right, well, thanks, guys, for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming all the way down
Thank you
and
for having us.
donating
Thank
your
you,
beer and your
JP.
time, and especially to my very handsome co-hosts here, Brian and Lee. And a big thank you to 5 Star. If you are having problems cleaning your equipment or you just don't want to do the scrubbing, soak it all in PBW. That's what I do, and I love it. I can't get enough of 5 Star. So visit them, check out your local homebrew shop. If they don't have any, demand it. If they still don't have any, kick you out, go online and find it. Definitely worth it.
Yep.
If you want your beer on Dr. Homebrew, email me, jp@thebrewingnetwork.com, and we'll get you set up. You do not have to be local to us. You can definitely ship your beer in. We can Skype call you. We've even done some international ones before and some test shows. So wherever you are in the grand world of beer, send me an email. Let's get you on the show. If you need some help, if you're not quite hitting the numbers that you want in competition, or there's a little off flavor you can't pin down, or you just want general advice on brewing, Brian and Lee will definitely help you out, and then I will drink your beer and stumble through the rest of the show. So anyway, give us a call or give us an email, jp@thebrewingnetwork.com, if you want to be on Dr. Homebrew. Man, I'm a mess right now. Forgot to hit the bed and everything. So and this is where I'm supposed to go. And if you want to be on Dr. Homebrew, contact blah 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 blah. But it's 10:23 here, and I'm ready for another beer. So we're gonna get out of here. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Taking time from your lives, and we'll see you next time on Dr. Homebrew.